middle of a feast with so many good people. When you look around the room, you know, there's so many people I can recognise that are actually bothered to get their fingers out. That's one of the really great things about, I call it a movement. It's a bit, I'm not sure quite what else to call it. But what's really great about Cornwall is that there are so many people here who made the positive decision to be here and make a life here, as opposed to it being an accident that happened to them. And you know, when you see Wren exist, and I got to tell you a story that I was in the Maldives for my sins for work, and Wren was being talked about by Jeremy Leggett on the stage in conversation with Richard Branson, saying how extraordinary it was to get a sense that when he came here to see you, I think he came down for a couple of days, and he said what was extraordinary was that the combination of people that were doing this stuff here were not freakos, alternativos, they were actually serious citizens who were interested in democratic process, and that was incredibly... Some of us are freakos. But I think that's the key point, and I think that's what the mayor was trying to say was, what happens if the way we all think about this stuff becomes the new normal? And actually we refuse to allow people to marginalise what we believe as if, yes, idealists think that, but it can't possibly work. Because my experience, and the experience you're having now, is actually, if you put two fingers up at the world and say, actually there's a huge amount of sense to this, and you build a strategy around it, I think it will work. I think one of the problems we all face in this room is that climate change itself has been so damn politicised that whatever our beliefs, you know that you could end up wasting a large chunk of your life having arid debates with people who don't agree with you, because it's a prejudice that is deeply instilled. Yet, we were discussing earlier, if you talk to people who are in denial about this stuff, but you say, do you think that we are living wisely on the world? They'll say, of course not. So you say, well, why can't we be friends then? And actually change those things and not mention climate change, we'll just accidentally deal with it. And I think maybe our attitude has got to be that kind of turn the cheek thing, because it's such a waste of life talking to people who are prejudiced. But the most important thing, I think, for us, and why I think it's important what you're doing, but also as an example, is that the thing which seems to have a lot of traction in this country, when you travel around, I'm sure you found this, is when you move the debate to asking a very simple Janet and John question of a large audience, and you say, if you were the king and queen of a tribe called the Angles who inhabit these islands, with your knowledge of history, would you ever make yourself dependent from something that came outside your shores for your future security? And everybody just roars. Everybody knows it makes sense. We're pushing an open door if we get the narrative right. And the point that you were making just now about jobs, I mean, as you know, at Eden, we're hoping to do this geothermal plant. In fact, we're hoping that we're going to start digging a bloody big hole in March. But what is absolutely extraordinary about this is that we live at a time where a government is, well, was prepared until two weeks ago to put up to £1 billion into exploring a technology of carbon sequestration, which is completely a construct, or a large part a scientific construct of the big six oil companies, right? And 1 million into geothermal. However, if geothermal works, it's capable at a minimum guesstimate of supplying up to 10% of the energy needs of the whole damn country. So we at Eden have taken the view that we are going to gamble, and I think we've persuaded enough other fellow travellers to gamble on it, because if one pipe works, you've established the principle. And if you've established that principle, you can then start talking about training up our young people to become the world experts in dealing with this stuff. And if we all collectively buy into that sort of vision of a future, I have no doubt that we can make this the place where students want to come and study this stuff, they want to train the stuff, in the whole range of geothermal. It doesn't have to be deep the whole way through, deep geothermal the whole way through. But we've got to kind of like be political in supporting each other. What you don't want is that the shop opens and actually everybody thinks it's a really good idea, but no one comes in too much. Well, opening it is the first part of the battle. The next bit is to make it retain its funky vibrancy, and to just get out there and for us to steer people to this place, to actually make it something that every week we commit ourselves to telling people it's not stupid to get behind this, it's actually in your interest, it's in society's interests, and all the rest of it. So I'm very proud to be associated with it, and I love basking in someone else's glory. You've got an extraordinary happy face, despite the efforts that I know you've put into it. So Steve.
Those miserable folk around.
You're kind of the Steve Jobs of Wadebridge. It's like good Dave Hasselhoff's dad.
He's older than me.
Well, he is good looking. So anyway, I'm delighted to be able to come and put this thing. It makes me feel a bit like the guy in Bucks.
We do have this marble plaque. Now I think we have some music, crescendo music, before the actual unveiling opening of the.
Maybe Stephen takes one corner and Tom takes one corner.
One second, crescendo.
Okay, Steve, grab a corner as well.
Right, can you tell me where the crescendo
You
is?
just pull. Again.
1, 2.